We got Alabama versus Michigan taking place tomorrow at 7:35. This is an Alabama team coming off of just boat racing Texas Tech. This is an Alabama team that's not afraid to shoot the three at all, and that's really what makes this matchup interesting to say the least, because 8.5 point favorite for Michigan. Obviously, I think going into this one, you're going to fully expect Michigan to probably dominate inside. This is an Alabama team that takes a ton of threes. This is an Alabama team that isn't great defensively, and you're truly going to have a very big advantage when it comes to the front court. You have a Damar, you have Morez Johnson. I think Michigan's going to continue to kind of press that throughout this game. Obviously, this isn't one of the greatest defenses in Alabama. I think Michigan has obviously faced better defenses in this tournament, in my opinion. I think maybe St. Louis is a little bit better of a defense, but this is an Alabama team that truly can be terrifying, right? This is an Alabama team that shot 45% from three against Texas Tech, which absolutely dominated from the get-go. It was never really a contest. This is an Alabama team that has been shooting pretty well recently. Against Hofstra, they shot 132%, maybe a little bit above that. This is an Alabama team that shoots the three at a high clip and shoots at a decent percentage as a team, basically 36% as a team. Obviously, you have to mention a guy in LeBaron Philon. He is Alabama's guy at this point, especially when they don't have Aaron Holloway, which he obviously won't be playing in this game, obviously because of everything going off the court. I think if he was, I think maybe even the spread would be a little bit lower than it is. But the one thing that does concern me in this game for Michigan, I do expect Michigan to win, obviously, but the one thing that concerns me is that the one loss this year that Michigan was not out physicaled by, which I think Purdue did a pretty good job of. Maybe they weren't necessarily out physical by Purdue, but like it was a little bit of a different outlier. The only other loss that they truly had that I can point to in this game that could make things interesting is that Wisconsin loss. Wisconsin got really hot from three. They kept hitting three after three after three. Yes, it was a really close game, but their guards went off in that game. This is an Alabama team that has the possibility of doing that. Do I expect them to do it? Not necessarily. Do I expect them to shoot 45%, make 19 threes in this game? No, not at all. But do I expect Alabama to take 30, 40 threes in this game? Absolutely. That's just Alabama's offense. That's what Nate Oates does, is they put the ball inside, basically have four guys spread out on really the perimeter, and they just take an open shot. They take an open look. They take the best look that they can possibly get. And when Alabama gets hot, this is an Alabama team that knocks down three after three after three, and that is the most dangerous part of what this Alabama team does. Now, if they don't get hot, I fully expect Michigan to completely run Alabama off the court. I truly do. I think Michigan's going to be the more physical team. I think Michigan's going to be ready, obviously, with the athleticism, the size that Michigan does have. I do think that's going to play a little bit of a factor into some of these shots. I do think Alabama's still going to try to get open shots, still try to really run the offense, and they're really good at it, right? That's why Alabama's a 4 seed. That's why Alabama's really good in the SEC, is because when they win games, they roll you out of the door. And I think this is going to be a real possibility of a very high scoring game, which I think obviously plays into what both of these teams want, right? Michigan defensively is by far the superior team. Alabama wants a high scoring game. Alabama has scored 90 points in the NCAA tournament for the first two games, exactly 90 points. Michigan has gone basically 90 and above from there. These are both two offenses that truly like to put up points. These are two offenses that are a little bit different. I think Michigan's a little bit more of like that kind of interior type offense, even though Michigan can still shoot the three really well. And they have guys that can shoot the three. Axel's a good 3-point shooter, Amari Burnett. Elliot Cadeau's obviously had a huge game last game. Michigan has 3-point shooters, but Alabama's going to be going from the outside. And we're going to see if Alabama can continue its hot shooting. Obviously, this is a game that's taking place in Chicago, which is going to be obviously a very pro-Michigan crowd. This is going to be a game that is going to be a big game environment. That's what Sweet 16s are for. And I think at the end of the day, there comes to a time where a team just stops hitting shot, or a team just doesn't get hot. And I think Alabama, to their credit, they've been really good this year. There's going to come a time where a defense is going to make a difference. And if there's any defense in the country that I think with their size, with their athleticism can make a difference, I think it's this Michigan team. So I do truly wonder if Alabama does not shoot well from three. I think they're going to have to shoot over 30% from three to have a chance in this game on high volume. If Alabama struggles shooting the ball early on, can they kind of keep up with Michigan? Because that's the one other key that I think is if Alabama gets off to a slow start, while the three can be a perfect equalizer in a game, what happens if Alabama gets cold? Can they get stops defensively? Can they be physical? Can they force Ademar and Morris Johnson to take difficult shots? Does Yaxel continue his great performance from his last game? Does Michigan hit shots in this game? Does Michigan kind of control the pace of this game? I think there's different factors going into it, and I feel like you feel a lot more comfortable with what Michigan's going to provide offensively, with what Michigan's going to provide defensively than what Alabama has. Now, to Alabama's credit, I've given them a ton of credit for this. This is a team shooting really well. And if you continue to shoot well, you should hypothetically continue to do so. It's just you can't have an off night, especially in the Sweet 16. If you have an off night against this Michigan team, this Alabama team will lose. But if they're shooting 45%, if they make 19 threes again, I think you could be watching an Alabama team in the Elite Eight, and that is a really, really dangerous Alabama team as long as they continue to shoot really well. But yeah, I don't expect obviously Holloway to play in this game. I don't necessarily expect Alabama to win this game, but like I said, the three is the great equalizer, and if Alabama can hit them consistently, if Alabama can get going offensively really early on in this game, and even defensively step up and make Michigan take difficult shots, I think that's, again, really the kind of Wisconsin, the Purdue style of things is sometimes you really have to try to take away as much as you possibly can, put a hand in the face, try to make a difficult shot. Sometimes Michigan's going to hit them, but you have to make things difficult on Michigan, especially with just how efficient this offense and just how athletic this team is overall. So I think Michigan has a little bit too much in this game for Alabama. I do expect Alabama to maybe take a little bit of a step back, but still a very, very dangerous team. And if they continue to stay high and win this game, I also wouldn't necessarily be the most surprised either. So I'll obviously recap this game once it happens. Let me know in the comments what you think. Who do you think wins this game? Do you have Michigan? Do you have Alabama? Do you think Michigan covers? Let me know. Feel free to leave a like, subscribe, comment as well. Please feel free to share this with friends, family, anyone that you have. Alabama fans, Michigan fans, all fans are welcome. I'll obviously recap this game after it happens, but we'll see what happens Friday. It should be a good game, should be a fun game. We'll see who steps up offensively and see if Alabama stays high or if Michigan can get stops and continue its effective offensive performance so far. But thanks for tuning in and tune in to the next episode.